So welcome back to our third Track Talks webinar series. Thank you for joining us. Today, the topic of conversation is going to be on measuring growth performance and preparing for bull test season. So we're going to be going over how to add weight events, as well as what information you need in order to get genetic evaluations if you've chosen to be part of the builder subscription level or include the subscription level that includes genetic evaluations for your herd or flock. So to get started, here we have the Weigh Events tab in bioTrack Plus. So I'm in our demo account right now. You can see that there's lots of different weights recorded here. As with all of the screens in bioTrack Plus, this is completely customizable, so you can adjust what information you see depending on what matters the most to you. So for example, I can edit my columns, and maybe instead of the animal, just the animal, I also want to be able to see the RFID. I'm going to go into the add columns, click on related, look for information in the animal table, and then scroll down. This is alphabetical, and add RFID by clicking on it. So not all the animals in this demo account actually have RFIDs, but you can see now the ones that do. It's if I wanted to save this once I got it the way that I liked the format, I'm going to go up into the top navigation bar to the three dots and click on either save as new view or save changes to current view, depending on if I've. So just to take a quick walk through what the weigh event form looks like. All of these weights here, this event ID on the left-hand side, if we click on that link, it's going to bring us into the event. So the weigh form includes the animal that the weight was recorded on, the date, the type of weight, the weight unit, and weigh group. Now these are all required fields. That means when we're going to import or add a weigh event, we do need data in all of these 5 fields in order to save that weigh event. You'll see that the weight unit here is currently set to pounds. There is the ability to customize what your default weight unit is in the user settings. So by default, most accounts have been set up so that the imperial system pounds is used for weights. But if you wanted to change it to kilograms, just email the office and we can adjust that for you. There's also a few optional fields, so you can record a protocol if you have a specific weighing protocol that you're using. You can record who is actually taking the weight and any comments. For example, if you wanted to make a note of ones that are potential breeding stock prospects or ones that you definitely wanted to call commercial or market, you can record that information here as well. Like all events in bioTrack Plus, you can either create a new event by going to the Weigh Events tab and clicking New, which will bring up a blank form for you to fill in. We can just do one as an example here. So we've selected an animal. Let's say my weigh date is today. It'll default today. Our weight type will be weaning. Let's put a weight in. By default, my account is set up so that pounds will show up by default. You can switch this for an individual weight. Say for some reason you switched your scale and you had some that were in kilograms and some that were in pounds. Okay, so I'm going to call this 2023 beef weaning weight. I'm going to select that my group type is a weaning group. My species is beef cattle. And then put in the year that the group applies to and start and end dates. So on these calendar displays, you can either flip backwards to the start date, or you can actually click on the month and then select the year and month, then select the right month, and then select the date. That just saves a little bit of time. You can also just type in the date as well. Now this step is very important. Before you can add weights, you need to create a group that the weights belong to. And this is especially important for genetic evaluation. So the system needs to know which animals were managed the same way when it forms what's called a contemporary group, which is a group of animals that were managed similarly, that were born at the same time, and that have had equal opportunity to express their genetic merit. So by selecting a group when we upload the weight events, the system knows which animals were managed together and which ones were managed separately. Once I've filled in, and now you can see it auto-populated with my weight group here. And I can add in a comment as well. Once I've filled in all the required fields, which are noted with this red asterisk, I can then save my event. It'll take a couple of seconds to save, but now it's been added. Next, what we can do is go to the actual animal profile and look at a history of weights. So I'm going to click on the animal ID. That will open up the animal profile for this animal. And then so on this performance tab, the first thing you have is a weight history for the animal. Now this one only has one weight, but if you had birth and yearling and other weights recorded as well, then all of that information will be captured in chronological order in the weight history. You can also see a bit of a graph here that shows the individual growth curve for this animal over time. The graph is a little bit small by default, but you can expand it by clicking on this button over here, the square with the little arrow in it. Again, this animal only has one weight, but if they had birth weight and yearling weight as well, all of those weights would show up in this graph. The performance tab also has genetic evaluation results. Of course, this animal does not have genetic evaluations because I just added the weaning weight. So the genetic evaluation system, for those that are on the builder subscription level, runs once a week. So the data gets run overnight on Friday, and this goes for both beef and sheep. Goats, we're still working on figuring out exactly the frequency that the genetic evaluations are going to be run, but for beef and sheep, it's both weekly. They run over the weekend, and the new results are available on Monday morning. So for that reason, when you first add your weights, you won't see any results for the genetic evaluations until the next GE run occurs. The other way that we can manually, one at a time, add a weight event is to actually click on the animal itself from the Animals tab and go to Animal Events. And from this, you can see that there have already been 2 weights recorded for this animal. But if I wanted to add another one, I can go to where it says New here, which gives a list of all of the event types. And that will bring up a new weigh event form. The animal in this case will be pre-populated because we've already selected which animal this weight is for. And the weigh date will again default to today's date. The different types of weights available, you can see in this drop down here. So birth, weaning, yearling, sale, death, other. Other can be used for anything that's not listed here, like a mature weight, for example. There's also not specified 50, 100 day, and 150 day weights as well. So I would select which weight applies here. Now we've added our weight in here. I'm going to say that this is a mature weight for this cow. And then the problem with using the multi-species demo account is I forgot that this is a sheep, so we probably don't have a 1,200-pound sheep. We'll fix that. And then again, if we go to the performance tab, we can look at the weigh history here. So this one has a 50-day, a 100-day, and now this other weight that is a mature weight as well. Okay. So now that we have an idea of what information we need to record weights, typically the most practical way of recording weights would be to bulk import them using a CSV file. So that's what we will walk through next. So when we're first getting started with this, the easiest way to know which information is necessary to record is to download a template from the system. So to do this, we're going to go into the top navigation bar and all the way to the right where there's the 3 dots. And then under Excel templates, we'll click download template. Now here we have to select which view it is we want to download. Because I'm on the weigh events page, it knows that I'm interested in this table. And then whenever you're looking for a template, click on the list of views and select the one that has template in all caps. Those are templates that we've created with the minimum number of columns needed to actually import the record. You can edit the columns if you have extra information you want to record. So if we click edit columns, we can see the animal, comments, weigh group, weight, weigh date, weigh type, and that brings up this template. From here, we can just copy and paste the information that comes from the CSV from our scale head. For animal, you can use any unique ID in order to add weights. So you could use the RFID or the bioID tattoo of the animal or registration ID. Or you could use ear tag as long as it's unique within your account. So if you have multiple animals that all have the same ear tag 100K, it's not going to know which animal to assign the weight to, and you're going to get an error. But if you only had one animal with that, then that's okay. So we'll fill in our animal ID. We have to fill in our date of weight. Our weigh type, this will have a drop down so you can select the right one and not have to worry about accidentally having a typo. Then we have to pick our weigh group. Remember, this is a lookup field, which means that the system is looking for information that's already in the database in order to assign the record to. So what this means practically is that you need to make sure you've already added the weigh group into the system before you go and try and import the weights. So I'll just type the name of my weigh group. We have to put in our weight and our unit, and then you can also add any comments as well in here. Flipping back to bioTrack Plus for a second, I did show you how to add a new weigh group when you're already creating a weight, but you can also go in the left navigation bar down to the master data section and click on groups. That will let you look at the groups that are already in the system to make sure you've already added the one that you're looking for, that you add a new group. Again, to add a new group, we're going to click on the new button once we're in the groups tab. If I want to open a group to edit information, and just click on the blue. One important thing to note with groups, and I think I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again because it will make importing a lot easier. You'll notice on the name of the group, the program appends the name of your username to it. So in this case, the demo farm is the name of this account. This is done automatically, and it allows the system to know, like, to have a uniqueness to the groups. So, for example, many people might have a 2023 weaning weight group, and the system needs a way of knowing which group belongs to you in order to assign the weights to it. So when we create a new group, we're entering a user group name, which is just what we want to call our group, but it's going to add this information and call that the group name for the system. I'll show you where that comes up in a second, but first let's just look at a filled in template here. So here I've filled in a template for 33 animals. So under animal, I've added them by tattoo, but again, you could use RFID instead. We have the weigh group. You'll notice that this is the user group name, not the group name. You can put either, but I'll show you where that matters in terms of importing the records in a second. We have weaning weights, units, some comments here, and then the date that they were weighed. So now that I've created this, I'm going to save this as a CSV. And then I will go back to the weigh events tab. Remember, you always have to start from whatever event it is you're trying to select our file, and then click next. You don't have to change anything on this screen. And because we used the template from the system, it's already automatically identified the different column names that we have here, but we should just double check that just in case. So anything that's a lookup field will have this magnifying glass beside it. So in this case, it's looking for the animal ID column. This is right because the default ID in this account is the bioID or tattoo, which is what I've put in the weigh event. If my default ID was bioID, but I actually wanted to import the weights based on RFID, I'm going to remove animal ID and select RFID instead. Weigh date mapped automatically. Weigh group, this is where the group name versus user group name distinction matters. So group name, this column is expecting me to have also added the name of the account at the end, that unique system group name. But instead, I'm going to change this to user group name. We have our comments field, and then weigh unit, that will always say unit name. So you don't have to worry about that one. Once we've double checked the information, we can also look at weigh type, the ones that have paper beside it, or the image that looks like a piece of paper beside it. We can click on and then look and make sure that it's mapped the fields correctly. Once we're ready, we're going to click Finish Import, and then you can either click Done and continue what you're doing in the system, or you can go over to Track Progress and you can click Open. It's going to bring up a separate window and the My Imports. In the My Import screen, this is a list of all of the imports for this account. Here's the one that I've just tried to add. So it's currently importing. Okay, so far we have 10 successful. It does take a little bit of time to import weigh events in particular because it's doing a bunch of data validation checks in the background. For example, you can only have one weaning and yearling weight, so it's checking to make sure that this animal doesn't already have that type of weight. You don't have to stay on this page. You can continue doing what you're doing in bioTrack Plus. Okay, now the status says complete, and there were 33 processed, 33 successful, so we didn't have any errors. That's great. If there were errors, it's going to be listed under either partial failures or errors here, and we can click on the name of the file and go to the Failures tab. Again, this is empty because there were no failures, but it would list out all of the records that failed and give you the reason why so that you can adjust the file and try re-importing it again. I would suggest if there are some errors, rather than importing the original file again, export error rows, click this button, and just fix the ones that have an issue and then re-upload that. It makes it a little bit easier to find which ones have a problem if you do it that way, as opposed to just going through the whole file again. So here we have the beef farm weights. These are the animals that I imported the weights for today. You can see I've added some extra columns like breed percentage here. If we want to take a look at the weights, we can click the Show Chart button. Here we have the number of weights events over time. To expand this, we can click the 3 dots. So this is just the number of events. You can click on the point here and it will filter down the data on the right-hand side. So it is a quick way for you to look at all of the results. We also have average weights by month, year, or group. So if we take a look at year, we can see the trends in our average weight performance over time. And if you hover over it, it will highlight that specific weigh type as well. So just as an example, I clicked on the 2023 weaning group, which is the group that I just added the weights for. So we can see 23 weaning weight records here. I thought I'd take a couple of minutes and talk about what information you need in order to get genetic evaluations. So as I think everyone will know, we do offer 2 different subscription levels for bioTrack Plus. They're called Manager and Builder. The idea being you can either be using data to manage your operation, or you can be using it to build your herd or flock with an interest in genetic evaluations. With both plans, you have access to record data on all of the events in the system. There's no limitations placed on it. You can manage your animal inventory. You can record events throughout the life cycle. You can access the analytics and reports and graphs and any of that stuff, no matter which plan. The difference with the builder plan is that you also receive genetic evaluations that you can use to rank your animals and make selection decisions. So for beef, the builder plan includes access to egg sites across breed EPDs, which we called ABCs, or across breed comparisons. These are updated weekly using our own proprietary genetic evaluation system. And you receive genetic evaluations for the whole herd as long as you are a member of the builder subscription level. You can also receive access to biodollar index values, which is it's a single economic index value that tells you the predicted profit that bull can bring you to your operation. And there's also customized reports available. There's a second option, which we do have an optional service, which is called our bull evaluation program and heifer development program. This is an optional extra service, but you receive bull test reports with comprehensive data on the performance of each animal. Just to simplify that a little bit, so for the whole herd, you receive average daily gain, weight per day of age, and adjusted weights. If you're filling in your weaning and yearling weights, you can get genetic evaluations for calving ease, birth weight, weaning gain, and yearling gain. If you choose to subscribe to the optional service of a bull and heifer evaluation program, you would also have phenotypic measurements and genetic evaluations for scrotal circumference for the bulls, as well as ribeye area, back fat, rump fat, marbling, and then test gain either at home or at a consignment center. To receive genetic evaluations, there's some mandatory fields that need to be filled in. bioTrack Plus is designed in a way that the fields that are required for genetic evaluation are mostly mandatory, so you don't have to think about this too much, but you do need information like the breed, pedigree, birth type and rearing type, birth season. You can have a birth weight as well, and there needs to be a valid calving interval for the cow. For the weaning weights, you need to record a date, a weight, a weaning group. The age of animals in that weaning group should be within 90 days. And ideally, weaning weights must be taken between 120 and 200 days of age, when the average age of the calf crop is between 200 to 225 days, ideally. Bull test reports, if you choose to do the bull evaluation or heifer evaluation service, there are options either to do this at home with your own group of animals, or you can also send your animal to a consignment center. The length of the test is either 84 or 112 days, plus a 28-day adjustment period for them to get used to the new diet. You must have at least 5 animals of the same sex of one of the allowed breeds to complete the test and receive full reports. There are specific age ranges in terms of when the animal should start the adjustment period. We can help you with that if you're interested. Weights are collected every 28 days from delivery to end of test. And ideally, animals should be fed to target an end of test average daily gain of 3 pounds per bulls and 1.75 pounds per day for heifers. You can also choose to have ultrasound scanning done. This can either be done by egg site staff in Ontario or another accredited technician elsewhere. The ultrasound measurements are taken within 7 days of end of test, and they are sent to the CUP lab for processing. The CUP lab will send the data back to your breed association or yourself, and then we can include that in your bull test reports. To access bull test reports, we do have bull test reports available on our website. So if you go on the Egg Site's website and then go to the genetic evaluation section, there is a list of all of the previous reports of animals for you to take a look at and look for breeding stock. If you click on the name of the group or the center, you can open this report. And this is what a bull test report looks like. So we have information about identification, basic information like color and birth date over here. We have genetic evaluation results, and then phenotypes that were collected either at weaning or on the bull test. Just to break that down a little bit, here's an example of a record for one individual. So at the top here, we have identification for this bull. We have basic information on and ownership and pedigree on the left-hand side. Then we have a crossbreed comparisons, or ABCs, across the right here. This little legend might be a little bit hard to see, but that shows you what the information means. So the bolded number here is the actual ABC itself. The number above and below it are the percentile ranking of that individual across breeds on top and within the breed below. And then you also have an estimate of the accuracy of that ABC as well. So the accuracy will increase as there's more information for the system to make an accurate prediction. Below that, we have weaning information, adjusted weaning weight, weaning index, and then the bull test and ultrasound information, start of test and end of test weights, average daily gain, weight per day of age, hip height, frame score, and then the ultrasound traits as well here. For sheep, we partner with the Genovis system in order to provide genetic evaluation. So we do have a seamless integration with Genovis, which provides an all-in-one kind of management genetic evaluation solution altogether. So you don't have to record your information separately in Genovis. It's automatically transferred to Genovis each week, and then you receive your genetic evaluations in bioTrack Plus each week. To receive genetic evaluations for sheep, there's a few things that need to be noted for the Genovis system. The first of all being, like, if an animal's ID or sex or any kind of identification changes over the lifetime of the animal, you need to let Egg Sites know, and we will advise Genovis to make sure that the change is recorded correctly. Otherwise, you might not get a genetic evaluation for that animal. Really key, birth type and rearing type must be recorded, and all lambs of a litter must be recorded. So if the litter is defined as a triplet, all 3 lamb records are entered. And this includes if a lamb was born as a triplet but one was stillborn, you need to add the stillborn in so that the check sees that there are 3 lambs recorded for that lambing. You do need to fill in a birth management group, which is again a list, a group of animals that were all managed the same way at birth. If all animals were raised together, you can just make this like a 1 or an A. You need to record pedigree. You can use multi-sire groups as the sire ID, which are treated as what's called a phantom parent. which basically means that it accounts for the breeds that the animal has. You do have to make sure that the dam lambing interval is correct. The system will not allow a dam to have more than two unique lambings per year. And again, if you change this tattoo or sex type, make sure you follow up with us so that we can make sure it gets changed in the system correctly. Sorry. For weights, the 3 types of weights that are recorded in Genovis are 50-day, 100-day, and ultrasound. 50-day weights should be taken when the group of lambs is between 35 to 65 days. And the min and maximum weights to be accepted are 28 and 72 days. For 100-day weights, the group of lambs should be between 85 and 115 days. The weights must be collected within 73 and 135 days. Another important thing is there must be an interval of at least 28 days between 50-day and 100-day weighings. And then for ultrasound weight measurements, they do need to be collected by an accredited technician through Genovis. The weight at ultrasound also needs to be recorded at that time, but you could use the 100-day weight as the ultrasound weight and vice versa. For goats, and don't have any slides here, but the Multi-Species Genetic Services Project, which is an Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada funded project, is currently working out the actual rules and timelines for goat genetic valuations for meat goats. At this time, the requirements are fairly similar to sheep. So if you take a look at this list and what information you need for sheep, it should be relatively similar for goats as well. Thanks again for tuning in. Our next Track Talk webinar is going to be mid-December, and we will be kind of talking about end-of-year cleanup. So cleaning up your inventory, managing sales and deaths to make sure you start the new year with a clean account that's ready for you to add new information. Thanks again. As usual, this session was recorded and will be posted on the Client Resource Hub. If you need help finding that, just send us an email and we can help with that. Have a great day.